And welcome back to another weekend of the Big Man's Report here on News Talk 1492.3 WOND. I am your host, as always, Blake Roselle. I hope you guys are enjoying the start to your weekend. I cannot believe that we are a week away from July 4th weekend. I mean, it's the summer goes so fast every year, and it seems like every year it goes faster and faster. And we just kind of wanted to slow down so we can enjoy this wonderful weather. But we've been blessed with some nice weather and looking forward to some more, warmer, nice weather in the months to come so we can go to the beach and enjoy days with our families. And we know all that fun stuff that we like to do in the summertime. So thank you all again for tuning in this wonderful evening here on this Saturday night. If you tuned into my show last week, I had on Doug Jeffrey, who is a Hollywood actor and film producer out in California. Doug and I had a great show last week. If you were able to listen to it, and if you missed it, the link is in the bio on my Instagram at the Big Man's Report _live. So you won't miss any shows. I post them weekly. If you happen to miss a show live, I always have for you guys the week after. So the link is up there in my description in my bio. Talked a lot about like the entertainment business, show business, acting, Hollywood, and we had a great conversation. I'm looking forward to have Doug on again in the future. And we had a lot of great topics about what it's like to be an actor, and what is it like being in movies and people that you work with. So he gave me a lot of insight on the Hollywood business, and I think it was an awesome show because, again, for our listeners who may not be too familiar with that area or that industry, it's always good to understand what it takes to be behind the scenes and have all that under your belt. Because, like I said, we watch movies, we love TV shows. We always it's what with social media and everything now that we do, it plays a huge role in our life. So we've been blessed to be able to, watch these movies, have Netflix and all this cool stuff. So when you actually talk to someone who is on the front lines of it all, it's a great conversation, and it's amazing to hear their experience and how much effort they put in their career. So thank you to Doug for coming on last week. And again, like I said, we'll have him on in the future. And it's a great show. Again, that's posted in my link in my description in my bio. And I will have that up for a few days. And also, if you did miss it, I will be on my YouTube channel as well at the Big Man Show live on my YouTube channel. So check it up there as well. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest here this evening, who happens to be the wife of Douglas Jeffrey in the acting business. She has had a stellar career of her own. And she's been in many appearances on TV, in movies. You may have seen her on the big screens. We will get into all that this hour, and we'll talk a little bit about her life and how far she's come in her career in acting as well. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Candace Kita. How are you, Candace?
Good. How about you, Blake? How is everybody?
Awesome. I'm so thrilled to have you on. And like I said, it was a pleasure to have on Douglas last week, and now I'm having you on this week.
We were in Palm Springs last week, so it was really fun. And I was actually off to the side, so I got to hear the interview. So it was so nice getting to speak to you last week.
And likewise, and like I said, it's always great to meet new people and to hear about their different industries. And it was cool that you guys were able to organize that together. To have him on last week, and it's cool that you came on this week, and we're going to hear a little bit about your career and your life a little bit in the acting business. So for our listeners out there, Miss Candace Key to everyone. So Candace, like I like to do with all my guests, and you've heard my show with Douglas and maybe my previous shows, I like to get a background a little bit on my guests. So tell our audience where where you were born and raised, where you grew up. What was home life like, mom and dad, or, what was life like growing up in your household?
I kind of grew up everywhere. I was born in Los Angeles, where we are now, but at a very young age, we moved to London, and I spent a part of my childhood growing up in London. And then we also moved to Antwerp in Belgium. And so then I grew up in Belgium and then moved to Texas. So I kind of always say I'm like poor white trash in an Asian body. because I grew up, in the South and still consider Texas my home. And then I got bitten by the acting bug. You guys talk about that all the time.
Mhm.
I dropped everything. I was working on a master's in sociology and I dropped it and just moved out here. I drove my little Honda in 105 degrees in the middle of June out here to pursue acting. And I've been out here ever since.
Wow. So you seem to be, like you said, you've been a traveler all over at a young age.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. All throughout Europe. And I've been really lucky to travel for most of my life, but I'm kind of happy just staying home with Doug and, doing the laundry. I'm thrilled with that too.
Mhm. So, what's funny? So actually, so you spent some time in England, you said, right? In London?
Mhm.
Yeah. So my grandmother, on my mother's side, actually was born and raised in Birmingham, England.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she came over in, I believe, I want to say 1962. She met my grandfather at the Air Force Base over when he was stationed over there. And then she came over here and has been here ever since, but still has relatives over in England. So it's a little piece of me.
You got a little bit of English blood in you.
Yeah, some English blood in me on my mom's side. But it's always cool to talk to people who maybe like lived in the UK for some time or either born there, because it's always like a little connection.
Oh, no, absolutely. But I mean, now you're born and raised in Jersey, right?
Correct. Yes, I was born and raised here in South Jersey on the East Coast.
Is that close to, because like Doug is from Cherry Hill. So are you close to that area?
Yeah, so Cherry Hill is upwards towards Philly, which is about
Yeah.
50 minutes from the shore. So I'm more down at the shore, by Atlantic City, the beach towns.
Oh, how
Um,
fun.
yeah, so I remember Doug was telling me that he had worked in Atlantic City for some time,
In the
and
casinos.
yes, yeah. So that's right in my backyard. So I grew up down here, and born and raised in South Jersey. So Jersey strong.
Mhm. And used to the humidity.
Yes, the humidity. Now you were telling me off the air here that it's been in the hundreds in California.
Oh my gosh, it was in triple digits yesterday with humidity.
Wow.
But because I'm from Texas, I'm used to 98% humidity and 106 degrees. So I mean, that's nothing. We were in Palm Springs last week and it was 109. So, kind of used to the hot weather.
Yeah. So I mean, and is it me, or I've heard the air out on the West Coast is it real dry, like Las Vegas area? Is the air drier
It's
like in
not like
Arizona?
It's not like that dry, but in Palm Springs, it is that dry because you're in the
Yeah.
low desert. Here, we're close to the beach, so it's okay. But it's not like Jersey, because Jersey, gosh, Philly, Jersey, and I've been there before. My hair's just like, it's like so
Yeah.
hot and humid. You
And,
just kind of have to get used to it.
and also down, like I think it's an East Coast thing too, because like with the way like the temperatures are, and down in Florida too gets really humid. Like people who live in Florida year round, or just in general, like maybe they're in the summers or whatever it may be, they say the humidity down in Florida is crazy too.
Well, it's a tropic zone. And I remember in
Yeah.
Florida, in the summer, it'll rain like 15 minutes every day,
Mhm.
and then it stops, and then the sun comes out and it clears up. It's kind of like being in Costa Rica too. Like every day it'll rain a little bit and then it clears up and it's like nothing.
Yeah, I know. It's like a bad thunderstorm will roll through, and then like you said, 20 minutes later, it'll be nice and sunny again, like nothing even happened.
Yeah.
So gotta love that Florida weather.
Mhm.
So born in Los Angeles. So you're
Mhm.
raised in England, Belgium, and Texas. So now you graduated from college with a degree in philosophy and contemporary religion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was college studies like? Where did you attend college?
I went to Austin College, which is a small private liberal arts school in Texas,
Okay.
and great environment, great place to be. I was the fellowship for my department, and I double majored in philosophy and contemporary religion,
Mhm.
just because I wanted to, but not realizing that doesn't really help you out in the real world at all. It was just something that I was interested in at the time.
Right.
And then I worked on a master's in sociology, emphasizing social psychology, abnormal behavior. And then I got bitten by that acting bug. And so I decided it was now or never. And I thought, this is what I really, really want to do. And so I've got to try. And so I just came out here and I didn't have a second plan. I told myself I was going to come out here and do this, and I shouldn't have a backup because I need to put 100% of my energies into what I really want to do in life. So I don't want to look back and say that I have regrets. And I can't say that I look back and said that I've had, regrets in what I've chosen to do.
Right. And that's a good point too. I mean, so you knew right away, like acting it is. Acting is what I want to do. Like you didn't even have a second thought.
No, when I was younger, I didn't know. It just kind of crystallized as I became an adult. And I knew that at that time, it's like, it's now or never. And I
Right.
felt like, acting is one of those jobs. And I tell everybody who's interested in doing it, maybe on the East Coast, it's 100% motivated by you. Like you have to be the person every single day that wakes up and says, what are the 5 things that I'm going to do for my career? And you have to do it on your own. Nobody's going to help you. And so I knew it was just something I had to get out here and just, what is that old catchphrase? Just do it.
Yeah. So you figured just got to do it, just got to drop everything and go, right? I mean, just kind of this,
Yeah.
this is what I want and this is what I'm going for.
Yeah. Because I really believe as always that, there's no time like now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now is really important. And if you're not careful, you're going to whilst away the now, and you're going to look back and go, oh my gosh, what did I do for the last 20 years when I said I wanted to be an actor, when I said I wanted to be this or that, I said I was going to write this great book. I have this great idea. You really have to sit there and just do it.
Right. I mean, and then for my audience listening, I mean, again, and when you think of something that you want to do, like,
Mhm.
when you have like the weighing the back and forth, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? I mean, what does it hurt to try and go do it? And some people may be afraid to take that next step and be afraid to conquer their fears, right? They may have a fear, like it could be your example in your industry, it could be a fear of acting, could be a fear of, becoming a professional swimmer or diver or whatever it may be. Like if you really want it that bad enough, go for it, because what's the worst that can happen? If and this, probably better than anyone, as well as, your husband and anyone in these industries, you may fail sometimes, but it's okay, because failing is actually in a turn moving you forward. You may look at it as bringing you back, but actually it's bringing you forward, because people don't realize that.
Well, I always just say, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that you're not going to die. So the worst thing that can happen is you're going to fail. So what? The worst thing is going to happen is you're going to get rejected. So what? I mean, that happens every single day in this industry. You can't take it personally. And I think the only way to move forward, because those failures, especially in acting, especially when it comes to technique, you learn from those failures. And it helps you. So it wasn't a failure in that sense. So you didn't get the part. But it doesn't mean that, you didn't fail, and if you're scared of taking those steps, because you just mentioned those steps, take mini steps. I said, if you can't take a big step, take a half step. And at least that gets you going in the right direction, because the fear is really what's stopping you. It's not these external factors in the environment. It's inside in your head. These things are the things you have to conquer they're stopping you from doing things, that are living your dream. And as you get older, you realize how quick everything goes by.
Mm-hmm.
So now's the time to do it, really, like now.
Right. Exactly. Like, and the more, and like you said, the more you wait around, the more time passes you by, and you don't really get to jump on that opportunity maybe as early as you could have, right? If you let it pass you by. Do you know what I mean? So that's a great
Absolutely.
point.
And the older you get, the harder it is to do it, I think, too, because, you kind of slow down. It's just a fact of life, and you don't have that inertia. So I think in order to really do it, if you want to, say, be an actor on your East Coast, one of the great ways to do it is, get online, do Zoom auditions, get an agent, submit yourself, get into an acting class. There are 1,000 things you can do now, online to help your career.
Yeah. And social media now too is, again, anything online that could be seen by, you don't know what companies or who, like scouts, maybe you don't know who's on certain platforms that are looking at you, that you could be noticed. And it's amazing in this day and age, in this media world, what we're able to accomplish,
Oh, absolutely. And, also with the advent of COVID, I think one positive byproducts of COVID is that we're doing so much online. You and I are on Zoom right now.
Right.
We have more time given back to us because we're not sitting in a car traveling, going place to place.
Yeah. I mean, and the pandemic really, and I think for a lot of people, it changed, obviously, it changed the way we live, for a lot of reasons, obviously. And it basically changes the way we view things, and again, how we're able to do things now. Like, a typical phone call, could have, before pre-COVID, now turns into a Zoom call, and a lot of people, it's stuck. Right. And even though we're pretty, we're kind of out of the pandemic phase, and we're dealing with it a lot better now than we were 2 years ago.
Mhm.
People are, like you said, are still using these methods and these platforms because they became so effective. And also, I think, you know, new ideas have arisen from the pandemic. Just for instance, a couple of years ago, I got into the radio show podcasting thing, and this is what I went to college for. But before COVID, I never really thought to go after that dream. You know what I mean? And kind of what you were
Oh,
saying.
wow.
Yeah. So kind of, I mean, I did this. I did it like in college and stuff, for a semester, as an internship. But then
Mhm.
after I graduated, I tried different fields to see where I thought I saw myself best. And something always brought me back to this. Like, this was my personality. This is what I love to do. Why am I going to just let it pass me by? And I just, and back to what you were saying, you can't wait on things like that. You just got to go after it.
Yeah, you have to do it now. Because I really believe in, I think in many respects, time is kind of an illusion that we think we reminisce about the past, we hope for the future. But I think the only thing that we really have is now. And then I
Right.
think time is really, if you can look at it as a bunch of nows strung together,
Hmm.
that's what time is. There's no past, there's no future. It's just now.
Right. Yeah. And that's awesome. I mean, and for your listeners out there, you heard it just now. If you have a dream, if you want something that you want to achieve, go after it, because the worst that could happen is a no. And in my book, I look at it as a no, as just not right now, but maybe later. You know what I mean? I
Yes,
know.
that's awesome.
Yeah, no's not a definite no forever. It's just a not right now, maybe later in the future, at a different time and place. Right.
Right, exactly. And for you to be able to hone your craft and to
Mhm.
perfect it for the time, it will be the yes, and then you'll be ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. So before we have a few minutes here before we go to the break, though, Candace, and we're going to get into your obviously your career and some things that you've appeared on, and some different shows and affiliates and movies. But I want to ask you, because I always like to I'm always curious. Was there someone in your life at a young age that may have inspired you to be who you are today? Like, again, you said at a young age you really didn't know much about if you wanted to be an actress, right?
Mhm.
But you said, I mean, did you have someone close to you, or did you look up to, that you may have thought is your inspiration?
Not in regards to acting, but I can tell you right now, my inspiration for most of my life has been my grandparents and my mom. And so my grandparents, I'm a real strong believer in living sustainably.
Mhm.
It's one of my big things in life. And we Doug and I grow most of our fruits and vegetables and most of the stuff that we eat. And that came from my grandfather and my grandparents. They were farmers. And I grew up with, a mini version of that at their house, going into the yard every day with a little colander, clipping the vegetables, and within 15 minutes, bringing them home and eating them. And I
Wow.
think today, and I think that is lost today in this generation. I believe our generation doesn't eat as well as 2 generations ago, like my
Mhm.
grandparents' generation. And I think that it's really important to bring back sustainable living, sustainable food, whole foods, back, rather than going down the corner to a fast food place, or living with prepackaged food and processed food and food with a ton of preservatives in it.
Right.
And yeah, what happened was, 2 generations ago, usually there was a one family income, one person income in the family.
Mhm.
And then now you have, 2 people going out and working. And when that happens, I think it's great. But what happens is the time that you process food, the time that you cook food and grow food really greatly diminishes. And so the
Mhm.
quality of food and the quality of life also does. So,
Right.
so to answer your question, I really got a lot from my grandparents and my relationship with them.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I mean, like, so you just from a young age, you were watching them and the way they, again, they took care of themselves, and
Yes.
that way, and that's so true. Like, that is such a different generation that I feel like we won't get back. You know,
But I think it's important that we understand what they did and try to
exactly.
implement it into our lives today.
No, 100%. I'm saying, no, I'm agreeing with you that I think that, that kind of lifestyle can be brought back, and people could be
Yes.
healthier, and people could be more sustainable. I agree 100%. But I'm just saying, like, who we've learned from throughout our years, even when we were younger. I feel like those generation of people who they were the wise ones, right? They're the ones that you looked up to. I,
Yeah.
I hope we can continue that at some point in the future generations. But they're really remarkable. I mean, just to learn so many things, especially like you said, your grandparents, it's amazing experience, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I have tremendous respect for my elders, everybody that I grew up with, my whole family, they all lived into their way into their 80s and 90s, almost 200. And so I think the way that they lived peaceably and very close to the earth had something to do with it.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, if you take, I mean, you take care of yourself. I mean, look how, and they probably were so much healthier too, like you said. I mean, just like the things they ate, their lifestyles were a lot better than, I'm not saying that people don't have healthy lifestyles nowadays, but it could be better, right? It could be better. And for the most regard.
Oh yeah, for kids to think that, a Happy Meal is kind of a normal thing that you would get, no disrespect to McDonald's, but
Right.
we, like Doug and I, we go in the backyard and we get, our own cucumbers and eggplants and zucchini and tomatoes, green beans. We get it all and we come in right away. I cook it. I take the time to cook from scratch. We rarely go out to eat. And I cook everything from scratch. And I want to get a chicken coop. I'd like to get chickens. I'd like to get solar. I want to live as sustainably as possible. And I think it's a very good goal to have going forward.
100%. And for all you listeners out there, listen, I'm sure they've heard this from everyone and their parents, their, nutritionists, whatever it may be. Eat healthy, but it is so important to eat healthy, take care of your body. And Doug and I had this conversation last week because I think it was a great segment we had on, especially in acting. Like, you want to take care of yourself in acting. If you're going to be on the screens, you're going to be, featured in films or movies, whatever it may be. I mean, you have to stay healthy,
Well, I think in life on the whole, I see people walking by and I really am I'm a people watcher. I love to sit and watch, and people, like, the airport's the best place, right? To see all these people.
Yes.
And I see so many, people that walk by, just the way they look, I can identify a lot about who they are. And so many people I feel are very unhealthy, just physically looking at them. So it's not just people in the industry. It's like, that's you only have one chance on this planet.
Yes.
You want to take care of what you have to stay around as long as you can for your family, and your kids and yourself, to enjoy life. And I see people and I'm like, Disneyland is another place to go and people watch. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, you want to be healthy for you, I would think.
Yeah. And that's, and hopefully most people think that way. Not all do, but yeah, just a healthy lifestyle in general. But especially like I was saying, in your craft, in your industry, it's also very important. And it's important for everyone. Anyone who lives on this planet, it's important for a healthy lifestyle, but especially in your business, I feel like you want to make sure you look the part. You want to make sure you take care of yourself, because you got to be making those appearances on screen and everything, So we actually are going to go to a quick break, Candace. But when we get back, we will talk more about your introduction to the film industry. We'll talk about some things you've appeared on and some shows, movies, behind the scenes stuff you've worked with, and we'll get more into your acting career right when we get back here on the Big Men's Report on News Talk 1492.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back. How do you like it so far? Good?
It's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, it's neat. It's a cool little, it's cool because it gives you a chance to kind of reach a lot of people, and you usually get good feedback from this stuff. And it's a cool setup that I have, so I enjoy it.
Where are you broadcasting from? Are you at home? Because I'm at home.
No, this is actually my studio. So
awesome.
This studio is a huge building composed of other radio stations. So the backdrop behind me, that happens to be my station. So I'm actually in one of the conference rooms. I have my own podcast set up here. This is my laptop, my microphone. So what I do on pre-records is I'm not the actual live studio. When I do my show is downstairs, and that has the producer window, and my producer down there has 3 mics. It's a studio room. That's where all the live broadcast goes. But when I'm doing a pre-record, I do it on here. I usually get some privacy. I come upstairs and I have my own little room with my backdrop. Yeah, I could do it at home. I just like having the backdrop.
I know. I love it. It's so cool.
And I like the setup in here is nice. A big conference table, so it's nice. But it's cool and I'm trying to transform this over more to a podcast as well. Like right now it's technically a radio show, but
Right.
the way I'm doing it and the way I'm formatting it is kind of like a podcast. I mean, you look at the
Yeah.
with the Zoom feature, and in my Instagram page, if you've seen, and my Facebook stuff, I handle it like a podcast to where it's
Hmm.
more like individualized. And I'm still like plugging my station and everything, like the WND radio. So
Right.
I'm still part of the station, but it's cool. I'm doing it like a podcast platform and a radio show. So it's on the
Amazing.
same feature.
I know, it's so
Yeah.
cool.
All right. So I'll introduce us back here.
Okay.
And then we'll get into, I want to talk more about your career in Los Angeles and get into acting and so a lot of stuff you've appeared on and shows you've done. And we'll talk, this whole second half of the hour will be directly on your career and what you're doing. So
Is this the second half? Is the last half? Because I also am interested in talking about my belief in the possibility of UFOs and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, no. And also too, and that's what's great. Like, let me know what you would like to mention as well. Anything you would like to talk about. I mean, it's not always just me directing questions at you. If there's something you want to talk about as well, yeah, please let me know and we can spend some time on that.
Cool, cool. An unidentified aerial phenomenon I find fascinating.
Yeah, no, and my dad loves that too. He's like really into all that. He loves these. It's so cool. All right, so I'll bring that in. I'll bring that in one of the part of the segment, and I'll ask you. I'll veer off a question to that, and we can talk about that.
Cool, thank you.
All right, awesome. Okay. And welcome back to the Big Man's Report here on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. Do not forget, I do want to mention that we are live here from Hard Rock Studios in Linwood. Where better to be than here at the Jersey Shore? You got the beach, you got Atlantic City, you've got the casinos, you got the restaurants and nightlife. Where better to be in the summertime, again, than down here in South Jersey at the Jersey Shore? So I hope you all are enjoying the start to your wonderful weekend. Summer is just finally breaking out, I feel like, and the weather is starting to get there. Like I said early on in the beginning of my show, for all of you that are just tuning in, I have a great hour here and a great guest for you in store. So stay tuned in, and you don't want to miss the second half of this hour. Those of you that have been tuning in, thank you for listening. And I hope you've been enjoying the show so far. Before we get back to my guest, I would like to just take a quick moment to thank my sponsors. Castle Supermarket of Margate for all your grocery items, baked goods. Check out the deli and all the in-store selections. The best of the best in Margate, New Jersey. Check out Castle Supermarket. Stop in, say hello to my dear friend Howard and tell him that I sent you. Versus Italian Bakery for all your Italian dishes, deli sandwiches, Italian pastries and bakery. Stop in one of Versus 3 locations in Turnersville, Brigantine, and Margate. Always the best of the best, fresh daily. Versus is also available for catering events, birthday parties, and special occasions. Stop in and see my man Ralph and tell them that I sent you. Blake's Gymnastics Training Academy in South Jersey, All Sports of Northfield for all your gymnastics classes, birthday parties, tumbling. And do not forget South Jersey All Sports new 8,000 square foot all turf line facility for indoor and outdoor sports training. Stop on by Mill Road and ask for Tracy, or look them up on Facebook for all of their updates and their posts. Thomas C. Roselle, attorney at law. If you get in trouble, contact the law office of Thomas C. Roselle for all of your criminal and municipal court matters. You can find Tom on Facebook and send him a private message. Again, thank you to all my sponsors who make this show possible. Now let's get back to the Big Man's Report live from Hard Rock Studios here on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. Thank you all for tuning in again. I have my wonderful guest here in the studio, Candace Kita, Hollywood actress, filmmaker, TV producer, you name it. She's done it all. She's been there. Candace, thank you again for coming on the program this weekend.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Blake. I'm having such a good time.
So we were talking the first half of the hour about a little bit about your life. You've seen to travel a lot at a young age. You've been raised in different places, and then you make your way out to Los Angeles, and you want to jump right into the acting world. And you said, you know what, I'm going for the gold. I'm here. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going for. And now you are in the acting world. So, so when you first came to California and you got into acting, what were some of the first pictures you may have been seen on, or what were some of the first things that you were doing as an actress in California?
It's a good question. I got lucky and I didn't realize I was lucky at the time. I auditioned for a kid show on Fox and I auditioned 5 times. Didn't even realize that that was unusual. I went to network, didn't understand that that was unusual, and I booked the job. And so I was a series regular lead on a kid show for Fox for 2 years. I did 3 seasons, 40 episodes on a show called Masked Rider. So that was one of the first things that I did, not understanding that booking a series lead was not normal for kind of having just landed here. So I did that, and it took up 2 years of my life being here. But I learned because it was like being paid to be at class every single day. And I got up at 4:20 every morning, which we still get up super early. And I was in the studios like at 5:45, and I would work a 12-hour or longer day every single day, and then have ADR, which is dialogue replacement, additional dialogue replacement on Saturdays. So it took up my entire life. And I learned so much being there. And it really taught me the technique of acting, where to stand and how to get out of somebody's shadow and, all this kind of stuff that you wouldn't learn normally. So that was one of the first things I ever did.
And you bring me right to my next point, and that's amazing. So obviously before you become an actress or actor, you take acting classes, right? So now are the classes really tedious? Like, kind of go off of what you were saying a little bit. Are they like difficult to understand, or are they just kind of repetitive? I mean, describe like a typical acting class.
I suggest everybody, if you're going to become an actor, get into class because you need to learn technique. Technique is very different. I always think of acting as one thing and technique as the other, and then the two merge together. Like basically how to, where to cheat the light in the camera. These are all the things that are going on subconsciously in your mind as you're acting. How to, banana out, where to hit your mark. There's all these things that you need to know. And it's so different than being on stage because you're taking a 3-dimensional thing on stage and flattening it on TV to make it 2-dimensional. So you have to understand that. And then also on camera technique is so important, where you actually get to see what you've done, and then the teacher will critique you, and hopefully they have positive criticism that's going to help you get better. So it's really important to take classes.
So then so basically acting is like a lot of obviously visual learning, right? Not only audio and hearing, but visual learning, because again, you got to see what you're doing. Maybe you need to critique this, like you said, or you have to go back and try that again because let's take another take because maybe you could do this differently. Am I correct on that?
Yes, you're so right on that. And then also, speaking of visual, I think it's really important to do mirror work as an actor, where you stand in front of the mirror and you look and see what you're doing, because you need to make these minute adjustments where you may be doing something normally in real life, like doing this all the time, because you talk with your hands. But if you do that on a screen, it's very, very distracting. So there are certain things you have to make really small and to hone in. Look at Kevin Costner. He never moves, Yeah. Look at Viggo Mortensen. He never moves. They just sit so still, and the eyes are so powerful. It's really important to learn that technique.
That's amazing. That's so cool to hear because I not being in the acting world, you pick up on little things like that when and that's a good point with Kevin Costner. I do notice in his movies, he's very still. He doesn't really move a lot.
Dude never moves. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
still.
It's like blinking, people blink a lot. They don't realize that when you're this big on screen, a blink is a huge thing. So if you're blinking all the time, it gets really distracting.
So, and all those things need to be critiqued, right? You got to work. So if you're doing all those things, you have to do a do-over, right?
Yes. And I feel like sometimes it takes a lifetime to get small and have confidence in being small and not thinking that you're not doing enough. Sometimes as actors, you think you have to act, and that's like one of the biggest mistakes. You've got to just be in that moment and trust that it's going to convey to the audience without overacting it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's so cool and important for anyone who's obviously looking to get into the acting world to pick up on these key ideas and these key concepts. So you appeared in 40 episodes of the Fox TV's Masked Rider. So what was your experience as the Masked Rider? What was the Masked Rider about? Like, what was it supposed to be the theme?
It was a spinoff of the Power Rangers. It's a kids show, and it had Fox TV's first multi-cultural family. I was the mom. I was Asian. The husband was Caucasian. We had an adopted son who was African-American. So, that was really good too for kids to be able to see that. And it incorporated sci-fi with home life.
Right.
So I mean, it was really fun, and we did special effects and we did stunts and a lot of physical comedy. So it was a tremendous training ground, and a lot of people that were on the show are still my really good friends today. So
Yeah. And you
it's
must,
like,
again, you must be building. I mean, I was going to ask, you must be building lots of relationships with these people, and you meet so many people in this business, right?
yeah, you really do. But some stick and some don't. And a lot of people on that show, because we worked together so close together for so long, at least 12 hours a day. You're with them more than you are with your real family, that you make these bonds and these ties. And,
Right.
it's almost like your friends, friends for life type of thing.
Hmm. Again, you said some stick, some don't, but it's amazing that you're able to, like, again, the people that do stick, and you have lifetime relations with, you go over their house for dinner, or you have your kids and their kids are together, and stuff like that. It's got to be a remarkable experience, just to not only have the acting life, but then all the relationships outside of it's got to be really nice as well.
That's what it is. It's about acting is about making relationships. And I
Yeah.
also say that's a part of the business part of it too,
Right.
because you make these relationships with casting directors, with
Mhm.
directors, with producers, people that you've worked with in the past. And then they like you and they like to work with you, because who doesn't want to work with people, they like.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they call you back.
Right. Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's a great feeling. So, you started in the Masked Rider and Fox TV series for kid shows,
Mhm.
okay, and then I noticed that you also done some stuff with the FX network, right, and ABC Family. Talk about and the Auction Network. Talk about some of those shows that you were on.
Sure. I was on ABC. I played the only time that Mel Gibson ever came on TV. I was his girlfriend, Misty, for a reoccurring character on a show called Complete Savages. And he was an executive producer on the show. And every time we came on together, I was killed like Kenny in South Park. And so I would die a horrible death each time. So that was kind of fun. And getting to work with him was awesome. It was so much fun. And I think House was on ABC too. And I was on House and guest starred with who was the guy on House? You know,
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't come to recollect it, but I know
Hugh
you're
Laurie.
talking. Yes,
Yeah, working
yes,
with Hugh Laurie was amazing,
yes.
and he shot me with an arrow, and just so many fun experiences. I think that's another thing in this industry is you don't know who you're going to work with, you don't know who you're going to meet next,
Yeah.
and there've been so many wonderful surprises. And like Two and a Half Men with Charlie Sheen was awesome, such a nice guy. And who was the other guy on the show?
Well, his character name was Alan. I'm trying to think.
That guy.
John Schreier, was it?
Oh,
No,
John
John
Cryer.
Cryer. That's it. John Cryer.
Yeah, John Cryer was super nice. And
Fun fact about Two and a Half Men. That's one of my dad's favorite shows.
is it?
And yeah, and he would watch it and he would laugh. I know that after Charlie Sheen had been off the air, Ashton Kutcher took his place
Mhm.
as the brother to John Cryer. But yeah, I mean, with Charlie Sheen, it was just so funny. And so, and I used to watch it with him a lot, and I would every now and then episodes will still be on, and I'll pop them on. But so, what was your experience like on Two and a Half Men working? I mean, you did say you worked with Charlie Sheen and John.
Yeah, I guest starred on an episode, and he was the nicest person and always took the time to come at the end of the day and shake my hand and say thank you. So professional. John Cryer was awesome too. And it was just so much fun. It was so much fun because actually John Cryer had dated one of my friends previously, and
Oh, really?
they were really good friends. And so she came to the set to watch. And so because they were still very good friends, and then we all hung out, the three of us, because my girlfriend, had a connection with him from before. So he was the
Now,
normal guy.
now you guest starred in one episode or a couple
Mhm.
episodes?
No, I guess on one episode of that.
Okay, and that was you're appearing on as what was your role in that episode?
It's a very funny episode. It's actually John Cryer goes out of town. So when he goes out of town, Charlie Sheen, being the more risque guy, turns he's a chiropractor.
Right.
John Cryer's character is a chiropractor.
Mhm.
So he turns the office into a massage parlor when John Cryer goes out of town.
Yeah.
And so then I'm the girl that comes in, and he and I turn it into a massage parlor, and then John Cryer comes back and has a cow. So it's pretty fun. And it airs all the time. It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one because I think that show is so funny.
Mhm.
Um, And and so you also work with Mel Gibson. So how and you said Mel Gibson was great to
Awesome.
work with.
He was so nice and so wonderful. And he would also too, we would prank the crew.
Mhm.
And one time I was in a bathing suit and he had me wear full hair on my chest. He had the makeup people come in and glue on fake hair all over me. And
Right.
so then I took off my jacket very casually to get into the hot tub. And the crew saw me with all this hair and everybody freaked out. And he's known for pranking the crew. He's got a
Right.
great sense of humor, super funny. And we would try to gross each other out all the time. We'd be sitting there, okay, you say something that's gross and I'll see if I can gross you out. So I had a wonderful time with him, and he was the kindest person.
That's such a cool experience that you were able to do that. And that's always my question too, like with these big time actors or actresses, like what are they like off camera? You hear stories, oh, I met so and so at this at one of his shows. Great guy off camera, great guy, just an unbelievable person. Or some people say, yeah, like some actors, some people are a little bit uptight, like maybe they're not as personable, right? That also happens too.
I think it just depends on the person, just like people that aren't celebrities. Some people are nice and some people aren't. The majority of people that I've worked with have been super nice and wonderfully professional and have gotten to the level of where they're at because they are just stellar at what they do. John Cryer is an amazing comedian, amazing, the amazing amount of like the comedic timing that he has. I just would sit and watch, his scenes. So, I mean, they're there for a reason,
Right.
And very professional, and most of them have been really nice. Only very few have been, like you said, other.
Mhm. Now, I believe John Cryer also, he appeared in I know he was he is the one of the 80s movies. Was it Pretty in
It was,
Pink?
yes, he was Ducky and Pretty in Pink. And I
Yeah.
told him, I said, I've never seen Pretty in Pink before. And he's like, you're kidding. And I
You've
go,
never seen that movie?
I've never seen it. I've still never seen it. And I told him that, and he looked at me like, how have you not seen it? And I said, I've never seen it. I just know of it. And I know you're in it, but I've never seen the movie.
All those 80s movies are so like they just bring you back to like they bring you back in time. Like they're like the feel good movies,
Which one's your favorite?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I like all of them. I do have to say I think The Breakfast Club might be my favorite.
Seriously, I
Yeah.
like Breakfast Club. I love 16 Candles.
16 Candles is good. Molly
Oh
Ringwald.
my gosh. The grandma and the grandpa, when they come up
Yeah.
and Molly Ringwald's character is like, how are you? And they're like, oh, I've got gout, your grandfather, his back, his sciatica. It's so funny.
Yeah, and it's cool because it brings back like that old school feeling, right? Like the you're in high school and your parents, are at home getting you ready for the prom or saying you got to be home by 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
It's so cool. Like I still love those movies today. I mean, I love watching them. They're awesome.
me too. If it's on, if 16 Candles is on TV, I'll stop and I'll watch it. And the music and just the clothing and the fashion and just everything.
Yeah, I know there's so many like, and Nicolas Cage stars in Valley Girl is another one.
Mhm.
But and it's cool because a lot of those actors and actresses got their start in those movies.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Is it Michael Hall? Who's the kid in 16 Candles? He's known as the geek.
oh yeah,
Michael Anthony Hall.
that's it, Michael Anthony
Yeah,
Hall.
Michael
Yeah,
Anthony Hall.
yeah. So they're all like again like they're like the feel good movies. So you've had tons of experiences working with these big actors and actresses. So what are some other? So you worked in Complete Savages. You worked in Two and a Half Men. What was one of your favorite things that you appeared in, or one of your favorite either TV show or movie that you liked that you guest starred in or that you really enjoyed?
What I would have to say, I watched every episode of Jeeves and Wooster, which is a British show,
Mhm.
and Hugh Laurie was on it. And so I'd never seen an episode of House. So then when I booked House, I was kind of in awe because here was, Wooster from Jeeves and Wooster standing right in front of me. And it
Mhm.
was so shocking to me that was probably one of the few times that because I worked with other people where it didn't matter
Yeah.
because I wasn't necessarily a huge fan. But then to see, Hugh Laurie come in, all 6'5" of him,
Mhm.
and do shadow boxing in the breaks, and just be him and me and one other person for the whole day. Our friend Cleo Berry was the other actor in the scene. that was kind of a wonderful moment. I was like, wow, I'm working. And he was also in Black Adder, which is a British show, and he
Right.
played the regent. So at that time I was thinking, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I'm working with this actor. And there was another time at an audition. Have you ever seen a show? It's called The IT Crowd. It's British.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've never actually seen it, but I have heard of it though.
It's really funny. And there's an actor on it called Richard Ayoade, and he's a British actor. One
Okay.
time I was auditioning on the Paramount lot, and I saw hair come up the stairs because there's a lot of hair, and I saw this hair, and then this person came up, and it was him,
Wow.
and nobody else knew. And I almost had a cow when he came up and he did this because he's shiny, walked off, and I was like, there goes the greatest comedic actor that I can think of walking down the Paramount,
Mhm.
walking down the hall in Paramount. Nobody even noticed. And that was for me a great
Wow.
moment. I was like, I can't believe he's here. And he was there because I looked and somebody had said on Twitter, that he's there that week. He was directing an episode of Community or something. And I was like, wow. So there, I have those moments.
It's amazing. So,
Yeah.
those were like you held true to you, like those moments where you really enjoy like the British shows. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, that guy's here right now, standing, breathing the same air that I am breathing.
You're like, oh my
I was
God,
like, oh my gosh, he's in the same building as me. I can't believe it. I'm shocked. Yeah.
that's so cool. And that's got to be an awesome feeling, especially like, you coming up in your career and being able to work with these people. It's like, wow, like, is this really happening right now? Is this real life?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just never know and you're so surprised. And that's, to
Yeah.
me, it's kind of one of those perks,
Right.
you know?
So you've done a lot of shows for FX, Fox TV. You've done a lot of like guest starred in different things. So now on the big screen, you've also appeared in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, Adam Sandler's Famous.
Honest, Adam Sandler is amazing. He
Yeah.
is just the nicest person. He would take time to know everybody's name and write them down. And, I got invited to his Christmas party. And at the time I lived really far away. And then his company, which is Happy Gilmore Productions,
Mhm.
I lived far and almost two hours out of the city. And one day I opened the door and there was a gift stand on the stoop, and it was from his production company, and everybody got them, but it was a little snowball. What is it
Okay.
called? What is that called?
The
The
snow
little
globe.
ball? Snow globe
Snow globe.
with the Chuck and Larry emblem, and also the fire station that they worked at, where you
Mhm.
could do the thing, and somebody
Yeah.
from Happy Gilmore Productions drove freaking 2 hours to drop it. And they're just so wonderful.
That's all. So now you were what was your role in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry? I mean, 'cause that's a funny movie. It's been a while since
Oh
I've
my
seen it.
gosh. I love it.
And Kevin James in that too.
He's super nice
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to shoot in New York with them, and then shot here in Los Angeles. So kind, so wonderful. And it was as a Hooters girl. It was a
Right.
Hooters girl.
Mhm. So it was like a brief scene. It was just like I think I
Yeah.
forget. I remember what scene it was. I mean, were they like were you guys were at the restaurant or you guys were in the apartment, I think, or
Well, yeah, one scene was shot here in Los Angeles
Right.
at Sony Studios, and that was in the apartment. The
right.
apartment was really a set on the Sony lot. And then the second scene was at a hospital, and that was shot in New York.
Mhm. Cool.
Yeah.
So and I know Adam Stanley just released his new movie that he was just filming in Philly for a couple months called Hustle, the basketball movie.
yeah, have you seen it? I haven't seen it yet. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I've been so busy. I've been trying to sit down and have some time to watch it because I heard people liked it, and it just was released on Netflix. I want to say about a week or two, like 2 weeks ago, he
I want
released
to
it.
say like a week ago, I noticed and I was
Yeah.
like, we have to watch it. Did you see the other one about the diamond dealer one that he did, the drama?
Yeah, where he was the jeweler in
So
on
good.
Netflix. Yeah, my
Mhm.
brother actually watched that movie, and he wanted me to watch it. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah,
so you did see it.
I know I did see it. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah. That was worth it. I was like, wow, I didn't know that he had that side to him. And then the ending was so surprising too. If you haven't watched it, you got to watch that movie. It's really worth it.
Yeah, that's a great movie as well.
Mhm.
Now you also appeared on. Did you just recently get done filming a movie for Lifetime Channel?
Yes.
Yeah, so explain to
Week
our
on
audience about that
Friday.
movie.
Yeah, I worked on a movie for 3 weeks. I'm the main bad guy in this movie. It's a teen movie, so it's geared towards teens and tweens. So you can't be that bad. And
Right.
but it's called Famously Normal, and it's about a young pop star who wants to reclaim her own independence away
Mm.
basically from me, her manager. So it was really fun, great cast. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. And it's a movie that, all ages, you can watch it. Grandmas can watch it with the kids.
Mhm.
And, like a lot of those movies on Lifetime, it's just kind of a fun movie, and it's a lighthearted movie. And it's also got a little bit of it's like a romantic comedy for teenagers.
Right. And then how long were you working on this movie for?
For 3
You said
weeks. I just
3
got
weeks.
done on Friday. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't too bad. It was only a few weeks.
I know, but you know what? I miss everybody. And my hair and makeup guy, Kwame, was so wonderful.
Mhm.
And I just miss seeing everybody every day. So, we were in Palm Springs the other day when you interviewed Doug, because we had just finished. And
Mhm.
so we went to go sit in the sun for a while. But yeah, I had a wonderful time.
And so that will be, you said that will be released pretty
Well,
shortly. It is released.
We just
Just
wrapped.
just wrapped it.
Yeah, we just wrapped filming on Friday. So it's going to take a while. Like now
Right.
they have to edit it and sweeten it. And people don't realize that once you finish filming a movie, there's so much more work that needs to be done because it has to be sweetened, which
Yeah.
is edited, and, everything has to be, all the bells and whistles have to be put on it.
Mhm.
So I'm sure it's months away.
I know, and that's always the thing. Like even when growing up, like watching movies and like like the film, it just takes so much time. Like you may not have it released till a year later, or maybe 6 to 8 months later. It doesn't happen overnight. Which people are like, oh, this, when this movie, I want to watch this movie. When's it coming out? And then it comes out in theaters, and then it comes out like on like DVDs are like obsolete anymore. Everything is on like Xfinity on demand, or or the Netflix and the HBO Max, Hulu. Yeah, no one, Prime Video, Amazon Prime. No one really buys DVDs anymore. They're
I
not really
know.
kind of out of style.
Isn't that weird? Are
Yeah.
you going back into theaters though? Like, is there a movie like Top Gun or something that you want to see in the theaters?
Yeah, so that Top Gun, obviously, as just got released. I've heard, like, friends of mine have seen it. I haven't had a chance to go see it yet, but people said it's extraordinary. They really enjoy it.
That's what I heard. Everybody said it was amazing. So we're going
Yeah.
to try to go in the theaters for, like, when was the last time you saw a movie in the theater?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. It had to have been probably before the pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely
So
before
we're
the
gonna
pandemic.
try. Yeah,
Yeah.
before the pandemic for us, and we're going to try to go to Top Gun maybe this weekend. I don't know, but yeah, it'd be like the first time back in a theater. I don't even remember, what it was like.
So now we both have to see it, and then we'll compare, and we'll have to do our little reviews on it and compare.
East Coast to West Coast review of Top
Yeah.
Gun.
Exactly. So we'll wrap up here in a short while, Candace. But I want to talk about, what is something that you are. So I always like to ask my guests, what what are some of your hobbies, or what are some things that you find interesting? Let's just say. All right. I know off the record, we were talking about unidentified objects, UFOs. So tell me a little bit about your knowledge on those, and why do you find them so fascinating?
I find it fascinating actually, because most of my life I didn't believe in anything remotely resembling a UFO. And then I started to do research on unidentified aerial phenomenon. And I started reading and watching documentaries. And then I remember the Pentagon released files last year.
Yeah.
Basically saying that, there's stuff out there, we're not quite sure what it is, but there's definitely things that are unidentified. And then they dropped another set of files this year. And then they were saying the CIA is now involved. And then I saw Stephen Colbert interview Obama, asking him if, UFOs, yes or no. And Obama said, can't tell you. And then Stephen Colbert goes, if you say that, it makes me think possibly there is something, otherwise you would have said no. Mm-hmm. And then Obama said, well, believe what you want to believe. I've even seen, Mitt Romney talking about this not being anything from the Russia or China because of the technology. So I think slowly we're being fed little tiny pellets of information. Right. That I think maybe the government probably has more information about unidentified aerial phenomenon now. And there's another documentary that I'm really interested in seeing. I haven't seen it yet. It's called Aerial Phenomenon, about in South Africa, some children and their experience seeing something in 1994. And it sounds compelling. I've seen the trailer. And anyways, I think basically, I feel like we need to understand this phenomena, even though it may not fit into our current understanding or truisms about life. It may not fit into what we think life really is, that
Right.
we might not be the only ones. And we've been told for so long that we are, but I think it's important for us to expand our minds and to open our minds up to the possibility that there could be something else, rather than shrinking these phenomenon to fit our perception by saying that person is crazy or is a weather balloon or it can't possibly be, or we're the center of the universe and there's nothing else out there. So I think it's important to really open your mind up to perhaps there's going to be in the future a shift in the way that we see our lives as human, and what else is out there. I mean, what do you think? I'm curious.
Yeah. And that's a great topic to talk about. And like I said,
Yeah.
I enjoy those kind of things as well, because I'm very in tune to what's going on globally or internationally. Right. So I'm always wanting to know answers as well. So, and that was one of the things that I always thought of. And I think it's something important to talk about, because I do think that there is a lot of stuff that maybe researchers and astronomers may know about all this and about all these UFOs or where's life. I think we're going to get to a point where we'll understand what's out there, and nothing would put it. I mean, I wouldn't put it past me that there is something else out there. Now, people may say again, maybe they don't want to talk about it. They're like, well, how do you believe that there's something else? I mean, no, we're the only planet, but they really don't know, and it's very fascinating to find out these kind of answers and unravel the truth to these things. And again, I feel like the government has answers, but maybe it's not yet ready to disclose that kind of information because they're still working on different things. You know what I mean?
I think we're getting tidbits. And we're getting
Exactly.
tidbits, yeah, we're getting tidbits of information that have started to come out, even though people have seen these phenomenon for centuries.
Right.
I think now the government is slowly starting to make the American public aware that they are seeing something, and we don't know where. I need to see hard evidence.
Right.
For me, I don't know what it is, but I know that there is something that's going on. I'd be curious to see what your, listeners out there think too. Do you think that there could be a possibility of something else out there that, like I said, I feel like we're shrinking that. I did myself shrink this myself for years and years. I would always shrink it to thinking, oh, that person's crazy. If that person saw something, they're nuts. They're just, they're crazy. And now I find myself, after doing research and looking, that there could be a possibility of something else. And so I find it compelling, and I'm interested in, I would wonder what your listeners are also thinking about as well, what they think.
Yes, and that's great. So our listeners too, definitely, if you have any questions and maybe want to, explain your thoughts on this, you could always, Candace, you're on Instagram as well, and we'll get to that in a little bit here at the end of the show. And tell us your thoughts. What do you think? Do you believe in something else out there? What are your opinions and thoughts? Do you believe it? Do you think it's something that's possible, or do you think it's something totally out of the ordinary? I mean, so we love to hear from you guys and tell us what you think. But Candace, yeah, that's a great point, and I think it's important to talk about those things. Like I said, I mean, maybe put everything else aside just for a couple moments and say, what is really on the table here, right? What do we really think? What's important about this situation? Because there's so many things people want answers, like you said, and now it's starting to become more of a topic of discussion, right?
Well, especially because if you've got high-ranking government officials now saying that there is definitely something, high-ranking military, astronauts, people that have been seeing things for a long time that were told in the past to hush up and not say anything.
Right.
And now the government has really changed their stance. And the government is now saying, hey, if you have an experience, if you've seen something, we want to hear, we want to know, which is kind of the polar opposite of what they were saying before. So now people are really starting to come out and share their stories and tell their stories, knowing that it's a better environment for them to be not misunderstood and not to be judged. I think people were judged for so long, saying, you're blank, you're bat blank crazy,
right.
by saying that you saw something fly in the sky or you had some type of encounter. And now I think that, especially just because we need to know if there's something else out there that has such greater technology and is so far more of an advanced civilization, I think it's important to know from, a safety perspective too.
Yeah, just for safety reasons as well. It's always good to be caught on the cautious side, right? What do we know? What can we find out more about this? Because, again, people are starting to want answers because, like you said, you hear little tidbits here and there from our government officials and people in power on the Hill, right? So we want to know what's going on. So that's definitely something that I would love to continue that discussion with you. And we're also very interested to hear what our viewers and our listeners would have to say about that as well. So in the short moments, though, I can't believe this hour went so fast, Candace. It's unbelievable.
Wow, it's been an hour. It doesn't even seem like it's been an hour.
It's crazy. Definitely going to have you on again, and we'll do a follow-up in the weeks to come on, what you're working on. But before we end here tonight, what are some upcoming projects that you may be in the works or the things that you have going on that our listeners can be look up or be hopeful for that you're going to release soon?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. I'm actually, as of this year, the official spokesperson and on-camera spokesperson for a company called Squarespace. So I actually got to travel. Doug and I both went to Tbilisi, Georgia, which is the former Soviet Union. And we also went to Istanbul, Turkey.
Congratulations. That's very cool.
Yeah, to be able to be the spokesperson for this company. So if you look under, Squarespace on YouTube, please check them out. I'm the person that talks about the company in all their spots and all their radio spots for this year. And those are out now. And then also, of course, Famously Normal, which is going to be a great teen movie, which I just finished. And it's a lighthearted romantic comedy, fun for all ages. And like I said, grandparents, so little kids can watch together. And it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely check them out.
Well, thank you so much for that, Candace. And how can our listeners get in touch with you on your socials? I know you have Instagram, Facebook, and you do have a website as well with all your works.
Sure. CandaceKeita.com is the website. And I'm most active on Instagram, which is at CandaceKeita1 and Candace Keita for Facebook. So please check it out.
So you heard it there, guys, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you again so much for coming on, Candace. This was a great show, great hour. And I would love to chat more with you in the future about, the acting business, the industry, and more just about cool life stuff that we're more interested to know about.
Oh, likewise, aerial phenomenon. I'm just fascinated about that. I'd love to hear what your listeners have to say about it. If you guys have any opinions, please let us know. Yeah, definitely. I would love to.
So, of course, Candace, thanks again for coming on the program tonight. Next week, please, if you tune in tonight, you have a great show to look forward to next week. And if it's okay, if you missed tonight's show, I will be posting on my socials, the Big Man Report _live on Instagram, Blake Roselle on Facebook, and also my updated and new running YouTube channel, which is also up there, the Big Man Show Live. Next week, I have a wonderful guest on in studio. I will not release the name yet, but she's an upcoming pop singer, pop star. And we will talk more with her next week about her getting into the music business and her newly released single, which is now available on YouTube with over 1 million views. And we will talk about that next week, and she will be live in studio. So you do not want to miss that. But everyone have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you guys all next week and enjoy the beautiful weather. This is the Big Man's Report here live from Hard Rock Studios on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. I will see you all next week. Thank you.